You ready? We have a motion to approve October 19th. No?
I'll make that motion.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Carried. Okay, renovation construction project upgrades, CNS Engineering for 2022. We got a presentation there.
Hi there, everyone. Good to see you again. I'll stand back here so I'm not blocking you, hopefully. I'll probably be blocking someone. But for those who don't know me, my name is Patrick Courier with CNS Companies. And got a little presentation here for you to go through the update on the project. I'm going to go pretty much building by building here. And Highway Department site, over on the right-hand side of this slide, we have the existing highway garage that we're going to do an adaptive reuse of that building to utilize it as outdoor services. The outdoor services will include soil and water that we're moving from the DSS building over to here. And we're also going to have parks and recreation in there. And then we have some flex space, possibly for USDA if they end up utilizing that space. And we also have some common storage areas within there. Off to the upper left here, right there, is the location of the existing cold storage barn that we'll be tearing down. And that portion of the project we had slated as being done by the county. There's no utilities there. It should be fairly simple to take it down and have it hauled away. And then we'll have, as part of the project, we actually have that building being reconstructed as a cold storage building. It's about 7,000 square feet, overhead doors. There'll be lighting in there, and we have a floor plan coming up. And then over here is the proposed new highway garage. That's about 21,000 square feet. And that building there will kind of get more in depth with the floor plans of it. And then here we have the wash bay building.
There was power in that existing cold storage, right?
What?
Yeah.
I think, yeah,
Okay.
there may be. I'm sorry. I think I may have mentioned that there wasn't there, but yeah, I think there may be.
I think there is, because they had both heaters, I think.
I think we'll be feeding it off of the new highway garage.
Oh, that's
We have
fine.
new
Yeah.
service there, and it'll come over to the cold storage. This is just another aerial view of the existing highway garage, the welding shop down here in the lower right corner. The welding shop, we've got a structural engineer over there today, along with one of our civil engineers that's looking back at the site, and they're going to take a closer look at that building. Recently, we've had discussions about trying to repurpose that building as a cold storage building, additional storage. Actually cutting and capping the utilities to the building and reskinning it. To try to repurpose the building as a heated building, you'd get into a lot of upgrades that would make it cost prohibitive, for insulating the building and meeting the current energy conservation codes and so forth. So I don't think it would make much sense to try to take it to that limits, but as a cold storage building, as long as it's structurally intact, it may work well for that. So we're still working on determining that. As you can see over here, the sign shop we've removed from this rendering here, and that was going to be an alternate during the concept phase. And we've had recent discussions of putting that in as the base bid and just getting it down and getting a new parking lot put in there. It'll pick us up extra parking spaces. We'll have a new retaining wall right in that area, and they'll really clean up the site here for that. This is just another viewpoint of the three new buildings on the west side of East Road. There's your existing fuel service facility here. Our rendering guy did a pretty good job of even getting those little booths in there. You can't see Ryan inside there, but he is in there. And as as I said, to the right is the new cold storage building, to the left of that is the new highway garage, and to the left of that is the wash bay building. This is a closer up view, and sometimes these renderings are really hard to tell. You print them and they look lighter than they do on a screen, and then different computers, different screens, the colors kind of come out different. The doors here are blending in quite a bit, the overhead doors, with what I'm seeing there. It's kind of channeled more, but we're going to print some of these out on the presentation boards that you can display them throughout the area here, the legislative chambers or offices, and we'll get some of those printed here soon for you, and they'll be a little bit brighter because I did print them out and mine came out brighter than that. But so it's got a single slope sloping to the back of the site towards the west. We work closely with Tim Hunt and Matt O'Connor from Buildings and Grounds and other people there within the county, and we feel very comfortable with the layout of the building and everything we're doing as far as mechanical systems and so on. That's another view of the same site. That's the existing site. Another view of that. The existing site to the left of the fueling facility, and that's to the left of the fueling facility also, where you'll be looking at the building. The color selections, going back to that, is we've actually got some samples where we're starting to select colors, but we won't finalize any of the colors until we select a contractor. And once we have a contractor online, we may have as a basis of designing a certain window, they may be just submitting an equivalent. Sometimes their bronze windows may be slightly, different. So they'll submit samples and submittals to us that we'll review, and we'll review with the county as far as selecting final colors. I think we did initially have this in the concept report as like a tan siding with darker brown on the base. And after working with a few different people, they thought it'd be nicer to match into the existing highway garage.
So there was renderings that CNS had done of green with kind of a cream.
Yeah.
Very nice. Those are in my office once you guys have seen those. The problem is we just sided the current garage red. So I think that's why we're at least at this phase looking at red. But, these are the types of things that, legislators want to, get involved and feel strongly about. Color is really something we can work on. It's whatever you guys want.
Yeah, so with that being said, I don't know if, and you don't need to let me know right now, but if there's a certain group of people from the legislators that are very interested in the interior finishes and color selections, we can kind of create a small subcommittee. On November 23rd, one of our other architects, who's also an interior designer, Kristen Collins, will be here meeting with all the different departments. We've scheduled the meetings. I tagged Larry on a couple of those emails, and only because I didn't want to try to tag everybody, but whoever wants to be a part of those meetings that can and is available to attend, we'll have actual presentation boards with swatches of the finishes and materials, the carpet, the color of the paints, and all that. And all that stuff's subject to change once we get a contractor, but it's the basis of design. It's like, this is our concept. And later on, if we decide to change from cream to tan or beige or green or red, it's usually, it doesn't affect the price too much. Sometimes it does, like with windows, your bronze, your tan, white, they're all like your basic price range, and then they have custom price ranges if you go up from there. Let's see, so here we have the cold storage building. There's 2, 3, 4, 5 overhead doors in the front. And this will have, like I said, lighting, power. We'll be able to plug vehicles in if necessary to warm them up. And it's just a basic unheated building, but we do have services to it. The proposed highway garage shows the plow trucks over here lined up. We have a direct in, You drive into the building and there's a direct drive in and drive out. And then over here, we have the entrance. There's a small meeting room. There's offices along there. There's the locker rooms and a break room. And we have a mezzanine above right here that can be used for a sign shop. It can be used as storage. And then down here, we have a mezzanine above the welding shop, which is going to have fluid tanks and compressors and some other mechanical equipment for the building. This is the wash bay building, and that's an actual profile of the plow truck with the plows, with the wings and the front blade down. There's a catwalk on each side of the building, and we've worked extensively there with Tim to determine locations of hose reels and the pressure washer equipment. And not only will there be soap to wash down the vehicles, but we also have a salt neutralizing system to try to get that salt off the trucks before we start washing them. This is the plan of the outdoor services. We have soil and water in the front corner. This is the existing entrance in, and there'll be a shared entrance, one point of entry with soil and water. And then there's a space here we had carved out for USDA if something happens with that in the future. And then there's a Office of Parks and Recreation back in here. And a side entrance door out here to the parking lot. This is the floor plan for human services. We have 4 departments in here. We've taken the 3 exterior doors and we created one main point of entrance here that faces the public safety building. We've got security set up in here, similar to the way they are now with the main reception desk. And I've got some interior renderings I'll show you of this. The whole concept of this is that this whole corridor is free and open, and that's our main circulation within the building for the public. There's public restrooms off that corridor, and everything else is either car key access or it's a specific door, like a class entry door to a department. This is the one-stop shop right here. So it's going to have like a storefront with a side light, and you enter in, and we work closely with everybody there to lay out the furniture in the reception area in the offices. Just above that is Office for the Aging, and we have that all along here. And then community services in the break room here. There's a patio off the back that we're going to show you a rendering of. That wasn't in the original concept phase, but it came up during design development, and we thought we'd take a look at it to see if it's something you want added to the project. And these are all cubicles over in here for DSS and support services there. That's the exterior entrance, main entrance I just mentioned, existing. That's the proposed. We're looking at doing a pyramid type gable roof over the main entry instead of a flat roof. That I think will look really nice. Jenny Jones had mentioned that she thought she'd like that, and I agree with it. I don't think it's a lot of extra work to come up with a nice little triangular cap on there instead of a straight line. You'll also break up the flow of the building. This is showing it with green. I think we also have one here with, they'll come up with the brown. This is looking at it from the lower corner as you enter in the driveway. That's
Still green.
Yeah, the colors are, I've got another one here though. There's the brown. The green wasn't as bright as I thought it might be. It's a little bit muted through this, but we've got some nice signage that's going up on the building. As I mentioned earlier, we have some brick samples that we're starting to look at. We're going to maintain the brick on the existing corners. They're a nice accent piece, and the brick's in fine condition. And then we'll remove the metal siding from here on down in all the windows, and from here on down and redo that with the brick, and then a new mansard roof around the top. This part being peaked right there. This is the back corner of the building over near the break room that we have designed. With the new mansard and the new brickwork going around there, this is the patio we're looking at. That's the existing ramp right here, the existing entrance. We'll have a new entrance door there. And then, oops, every time I turn the highlighter thing off, it goes to the next slide. So, this patio here, although it doesn't seem like a big portion of the project, to do it properly, the floor of the building is about a foot above grade at the building, but as you go towards the parking lot, it's actually about 2.5 feet above the parking lot elevation. So we're looking at actually putting in a retaining wall with a concrete cap that'll be like bench height from the patio. But on the other side, it only shows it at about 20 inches, but it's actually lower than that. We just started working on this, so it's got to be tweaked out a little bit. But that retaining wall will take care of the difference in elevations, and it'll also help to keep people from just walking up onto the patio and into the break room. Naturally, there'll be a card access on that break room door. We've worked quite a bit with IT and all the different departments on which doors to do card access on. And I think that we talked with Jenny about that they really need steps off there, and she didn't feel that they did. So I think it's better off just kind of keeping it enclosed, because once you put in steps, then you have to have handrails with extensions on them, and if it's going out into the parking lot, it becomes something that somebody could, back into or such.
Is the roof on that gonna be flat roof with the interior?
It's going to be a tapered roof with interior drainage, yes. So right now, all the water goes towards the street in the back, and I've got some old photos, not with me, but where the water dripping off the back and forming a lot of ice and off the front. We talked about that a little bit once before. So this is going to solve that problem, because now the water will go to internal drains and out to the east and just outfall. So you don't have any water running down the side of the building. So that's been a big problem for years. So we've resolved that issue there. This is the main entrance into the DSS building from the west side that faces the public safety building. And Kristen's done a wonderful job with this. There's still finishing touches. We just started the interior finish portion of the project. And these renderings are relatively new, so no one's seen them yet until today, including me. I saw them this morning, but so we've still got, Jenny just saw them probably now. So we'll look a little closer at these probably on the 23rd when Kristen's here, and start to even further develop them. That's the main entry. This is the break room area that goes off to the patio I was speaking of. And I think we try to work with different types of seating and barriers in between different areas that would kind of separate the kitchen area there from the seating areas, just make it more comfortable, so forth.
What would be the capacity of that break room?
Oh, I should know that. I can't remember exactly. I hate to throw out a number. Jenny, do you remember what Kristen was thinking?
You don't have to stagger your bricks shifts for lunch and
We
stuff?
all will fit in it at the same time.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah. But you were comfortable. We counted the seating there. I just hate to throw out a number because I don't like to, but we're pretty comfortable, and we can revisit that when we sit down. And but at our last meeting, we'd actually counted them. And I did want to mention here too is an important part of the interior finishes also is what Kristen always refers to as wayfinding. So that when you walk into a place, you have different colors, different floor finishes to direct you on where to go. So the different departments will have, flooring that leads up to the entrances. There'll be glass storefront instead of just a wood door, and it'll be very inviting and comfortable to, for the flow of people in and around there. If somebody has to fill something out as they walk in, if there's some paperwork or something, there's a little area here with some pendant fixtures where they can do that. And this frosted glass is actually in the front of the reception counter. Just last week, we had some extensive conversations about separating the actual receptionist from the lobby area. So we're working on that. It's that's a long subject to get into, do you create a barrier between there? And long story short, it looks like we're going to try to create some frosted glass to separate visually, but yet kind of make it open, but then also have some clear glass where the actual receptionist is to make that person feel a little bit safer and secure, but yet there be some openness in it and so forth. And that's it for that. Any questions on anything so far? Okay, so yeah, I just wanted to mention a few points here. We're making great progress on everything. We're looking at an interior finish meeting on November 23rd. We're looking at having a 90% set of drawings and documents to the county on December 8th. And that set will also send out to Trophy Point for an updated cost estimate from them. And we're still on track for bidding in January. I know that the county's been interviewing for a clerk or CM, resident inspector, which is great. And once they're on board, what we can do is transfer to them all the information we've gathered so far, our meeting minutes on how we got from point A to B, the actual concept report, that was initially done, and kind of get them up to speed on the project so that they can review it, before it goes out to bid, and, take any of their input, comments, make sure we cover those. It'll be just one more set of, people to cross the T's, dot the I's. Trying to think of a few things, since the concept report, a few things that have changed. We pretty much stayed on track with everything, which is great. Everybody's kind of stayed right with what we submitted to the legislators for the approval to go ahead on this. A few things over the time period that have changed were we added some additional space to the highway garage, about 2,400 square feet. We added 250 square feet to the vehicle wash building, which wasn't much, but it was just to give a little extra space around the snow plows with the wings down. We added 200 square feet to the outdoor services facility, 200 square feet to the outdoor services facility. That was internal space. And then we added 300 square feet to the maintenance shop. That wasn't too long ago. During one of our meetings, we decided to extend it deeper into the lot to give it a little bit more room. And I think that was the meeting where at the general services, we were talking about adding the extra bathroom. And at that point, we decided to expand it. So we've got 4 items there pretty much, and then the patio that we've added to the project. But other than that, it's pretty much stayed on scope with what we were originally looking at. I don't know, did everybody get the Trophy Point estimate?
I don't think the most recent one.
No. Okay. The most recent one was dated October 22nd, and I sent that, I think, to you and Cassandra and
I think Larry, there's a few of us that have seen it, yeah, but we can share every step of the way, but it kind of keeps changing a little bit.
Yes.
The bottom line is the number was around 20 million, which I did share that number with the board at our last board meeting. So.
Yep. So our preliminary estimate was 17 million for construction dollars, based on the concept report. This is, as Ryan said, they're at 20 million but I think that, they're figuring 20% for general conditions and overhead, which is what you would kind of carry as a, standard. But in a bidding nature, they're not bidding at Trophy Point. They're trying to make sure they come up with a median cost so that, if they're not too low or too high, but they're saying this is what we think it'll be. So I've reviewed this with several people, and they think in a bidding type atmosphere, you might see 12 to 13, maybe even 14%, but you're not going to see 20% on the overhead and profit when somebody's getting a job this size, if they're going to want to get it, you know. They have design contingency of 5% in there, a bid contingency of 5%, and then an escalation of 3.2%. So prior to now, I was hoping things would level off, but the price of everything is still continuing to go up. It's hard to say whether it will level off or not. It's, you know, 6 to 8 months ago, people thought it was going to, but just no one has a crystal ball. So that's where we're at as far as the cost on it. Well, as I mentioned, we're going to be sending this back to them on December 8th for a final estimate that we'll have back before we go out to bid. But the true numbers actually won't be until you open your bids up, you know, what somebody's really willing to do it for. And between now and then, we just want to make sure that the documents are as clear and concise and every T's crossed, every I's dotted, and that if all the information they need to bid competitively is within it, and hopefully to, you know, give us a real good solid number to work with. That covers budget schedule. I talked a little bit about December 8th. We're sending that out to them. We'll have a set for the county here. We'll have a set for your construction manager, and then bidding in January. Any questions?
For our construction manager, you're gonna have pretty intensive data dump, it sounded like.
Yes.
Are there certain software programs that people's familiar with that benefit us that we maybe should ask them there?
Yes. A lot of the larger contractors are working with like Procore and Uforma, and they're basically programs where they can track all the submittals, and the owner has complete access to it. We have access to it. So when, you know, they're submitting on a certain brand of light fixture, you know, anybody can go into that and see what it is. They can see our comments on it. It says, you know, whatever our comment might be, approved as noted, or so forth. So, but, you know, they don't necessarily have to be proficient at it.
Okay.
You know, some of the companies that may be submitting are very proficient at it, and they're going to be your larger companies, and they're probably going to be more expensive. Then you have people that aren't so proficient at it that we can get them up to speed with what they need to know to do it. More of your resident type clerks, and somebody that can be your eyes and ears in their daily. So, you know, you're going to probably see a variety of proposals that are different, and there won't be quite apples to apples, but I would just suggest you select somebody that you feel really comfortable with, and, you know, you can trust to watch over and to stay with this from the beginning through the end of it. And whoever that might be, I'm sure we can work fine with them. And if they need assistance as far as any of the programs or such, we can, if I can learn it, anybody can. Yeah, I'm new to all those newer programs as far as construction management. And I've come a long ways over the last 3 years, but they're very helpful. It does make things easier.
Thank you.
Other questions?
I was just checking with a couple other legislators. Andrea, Phil, you got any questions? No?
No, I'm good.
Appreciate it.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, please, as always, reach out to me. I'll continue to try to keep Ryan and Larry noted on our meetings coming up, and then if anybody else wants to be a part of it. And does anybody want to be a part of the color selections, interior finishes offhand?
We're
Ryan, should we put Ryan in charge of it?
We're still at the price.
No.
The standard price range for the stuff we're using.
Yes.
Patrick, you can tell them what you told Jenny when you met with her and her team about design stuff. about my socks.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
What, his orange sock?
No, I think I made some joke that his socks didn't match.
Somebody goes, is Ryan coming? We don't need him. He came and match his socks.
Should we mention your fireplace paintwork in it?
No.
So what we're probably going to do at this point is defer that to our interior designer and the different groups that we're meeting with. We'll be meeting with all the departments. Everything will flow together, so we're not going to, select different types and manufacturers of carpets for different buildings and so forth. Ceiling tiles will be similar throughout the facility so that you're not switching, trying to figure out which ceiling tiles go where, and so forth. Light fixtures, will be the same. If you had to replace a fixture, you can match it up. And so, yeah, we're in pretty good shape on all of that. Great. Thank you very much. I'll return the.
Thank you, Patrick.
You're welcome.
And then we've got a solid waste facility upgrade change order from CNS Engineering and CNS Construction. They're gonna give us a update.
Yep, let me just get these out to everybody. I emailed the change order out to you guys either yesterday or Friday, I can't remember. But I printed them as well, so let me just get them organized here. Yeah, there's one for each committee member.
Oh. Sorry, Cassandra.
That's okay.
Thank you.
What are you doing? Just putting them together, Ryan?
Yeah, everyone was busy in the office.
Doing good?
Yeah, right. They say, while you're here.
So, if it's all right, Jerry, I'll kick things off and then you can turn it over. So, this is the project closeout final change order. If you go down to the site today, you will see that the asphalt has been poured. You will see that Powis Construction is putting up the building. We are delayed, there's no doubt about it, but in the fairness to everybody, a lot of materials did not even arrive until mid-October. In fact, the final pieces of the steel building didn't arrive until only a couple weeks ago. So paving is done and the building construction in terms of the iron work is ongoing right now. However, there are two things outstanding that we need to discuss with the board. The first is fairly simple. Since we bid this job in February, asphalt prices have changed a lot. And you'll see what CNS has submitted has been benchmarked against the state DOT asphalt pricing. They've sent me benchmarking. I think it's fair that their subcontractor that they've hired has faced an increase in asphalt bulk pricing and oil since the bid. And the second outstanding item is when we changed, one of the things that we changed mid-project was our approach to the building, which made the wall a little bit higher. When we increased the height of that wall from 14 feet to 16 feet, the specs for filling the concrete block changed from stone was acceptable at 14 feet, where the engineering called for concrete to fill the blocks at a height of 16 feet. So that's quite a bit of additional expense that was unanticipated, partly due to a miscalculation by CNS and partly due to our desire to kind of tweak some things mid-project. So with that, I think that's a decent summary. I turn it over to Kirk, if that's all right, and anything you want to add to that?
No, not really. The asphalt price, is kind of really what it is. I kept it at the 17% that we had a bid time to what we put it down at. As far as the concrete goes, when it was at 14 foot, the way they had their shop drawings, it had a line, we're always, the top blocks were always going to be a 4 block. That moved down on me, and the 16-foot wall come through, and I overlooked it. I didn't pick up on that change until it come time to set the block, and I was examining the shop drawings a little bit more and realized that they needed concrete through the whole wall. If you do notice also, I didn't mark up that particular change order. That's all.
So two changes, asphalt is $13,015.20. And the concrete change is $39,699.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what, is before the committee.
And that's my cost, the 39,000.
And even with these change orders, they're still below the original estimated cost.
Yes, but we are starting to eat in pretty significantly to what we have left over to do the scale house. So, yes, we are within the original budget, but we still have to do the scale house. So,
Yeah, but when we changed that, that caused a lot of these problems.
yes,
So,
part of it is I do think that part of it is our responsibility.
So, and I think we ought to go ahead and pay it. What do y'all think? Yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
right?
Yep.
There's no insurances they have when this type of situation happens on either side?
There are insurances that can be bought. They have to kind of be asked for at time of bid. But yes, there are insurances policies that can be bought to secure major materials in the future. And that we did not buy a policy for that.
Okay. That's all I got for questions.
We have a motion to go ahead and pay it.
I'll make that motion.
Lisa, second, Ron, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Carried. Okay, I guess we're ready for buckets.
The first docket is authorizing agreements between Lewis County Department of Highways, Solid Waste, Recreation, Forestry and Parks, and Buildings and Grounds with Lewis County General Hospital Occupational Medicine for random employee drug and alcohol testing for the period of January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022 at a rate of $110 per employee.
Any questions or discussions? You have a motion?
It's just all those in favor, Jerry.
No, I'm sorry. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Carried.
Authorizing intermunicipal agreement between the County of Lewis and the Town of Lowell for New York State Uniform Building and Fire Codes Administration effective January 1st, 2022.
Any questions or discussions? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Authorizing renewal agreements between Lewis County District Attorney's Office and various providers for services.
Any questions or discussions? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
accepting fiscal year 2021 EMPG and SHSP grants and appropriating funds in the amount of $46,946.
Any questions or discussions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
Authorizing the implementation and funding in the first instance, 100% of the federal aid and state Marchicelli program aid eligible costs of a transportation federal aid project and appropriating funds in the amount of $170,000 for bridge replacement project known as Marshy Road over West Branch Oswegatchie River.
Any questions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, nay?
Authorizing the implementation and funding in the first instance, 100% of the federal aid and state Marchicelli program aid eligible costs of a transportation federal aid project and appropriating funds in the amount of $158,000 for bridge replacement project known as County Road 17 over Cobb Creek.
Any questions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, nay?
Authorizing agreement between the County of Lewis and Spectrum Enterprise for free public Wi-Fi access points in various Lewis County villages and hamlets at a cost not to exceed $368,563.
Questions or discussions?
All the villages and hamlets, they're not listed there separately, so is that what you're doing, just to save space, it's all of them?
Yeah, I sent out a list, and I can give you a hard copy if you'd like, but we sent out a list with all the locations and maps that show where each Wi-Fi is going to be.
I'd like to copy that.
Yeah, okay.
Any
So
further questions?
if we get into this like a couple of years out, we're realizing it's not getting a lot of use, what would it cost to pull out this kind of thing? Or is it our equipment that's going in there?
No, it's gonna be all Spectrum equipment. We're just paying Spectrum a service fee, just like if you had a cable box in your house. So they're doing all the install.
We're paying for the install, don't we? Or is it just like the,
Cassie, can you comment?
It includes installation equipment and then upkeep, so we can monitor all of the use of the Wi-Fi access points. We can add surveys for the public to access it. We can really control every variable of the access points. It is a 3-year contract, but we are not obligated to do anything after the 3 years.
okay. So if we get, because when this is all American Rescue Plan money, and it's worth pointing that out, this isn't a burden to the
That's
taxpayers.
correct.
But 3 years from now, we might not have this source of money, and we may say at that point, well, this is, the public likes it, it's a benefit to the community, we're willing to pay for it ourselves. Or we'll say, it's not a benefit to the community, or it's not worth the cost, and it can get pulled out.
That's correct, and our intention is actually to work with municipalities, individual municipalities, because most of the villages and hamlets, their municipal buildings will have the service, so they could have the option of switching over to that instead of paying double. Or if they don't want to continue it, they can just discontinue service.
Great, thanks, Cass.
In December, I'd like to have, at one of our 2 meetings in December, I'd like the committee give a full report back to them. Clearly, and doing a lot of great work. And it just kind of occurred to me that we have not reported back to the full board in, like 6 months. So I'd like to kind of pull them back. And there's several other projects we're working on. So we'll do that at some point in the next couple meetings.
Any other questions or discussions? All in favor, aye? Opposed, nay?
Authorizing modification and extension agreement between Lewis County and Mill Engineers and with New York State Department of State for additional professional scope of services under the grant awarded for the Central Lewis County Regional Water Project at a cost of $92,100.
Any questions or discussion?
Are we going to have a meeting? I suggested a while back when they were first here, there were some questions raised. With the 4 entities that are in this study, plus the village level, so the legislators can hear what's going on or what isn't going on and what the concerns are.
Part of this proposal from Miller's is a series of meetings actually with a larger group. So
Okay.
yes, that's that, I think that's,
I think for communication, that would be important. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or discussions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, nay?
Authorizing a renewal agreement between the County of Lewis and Spectrum Reach for a cable advertising campaign and mobile digital audience network campaign for a cost not to exceed $8,711 for the term of January 3rd, 2022 through December 25th, 2022.
Any questions or discussions? All in favor, aye? Opposed, nay?
Authorizing renewal agreement between the County of Lewis and WWNY 7 News, Fox 28 for the Lewis County Public Transportation System advertising campaign for a cost not to exceed $15,008 for the term of December 27th, 2021 through December 30th, 2022.
Any questions or discussions?
So we did this once before, and we were gonna check and see if we're getting our bang for our buck out of this, because we all sit here and watch the television at night with the bus going around one area about news time. And I don't know if that, are we getting that much increased use with this little bit of advertising?
This all comes out of grant.
Yeah, it's all covered by the SCOA funding or 5311 funding, but I understand what you're saying. You're looking at giving the benefits of the marketing. And yes, actually, we've compared, this year, we also did ABC 50, and we were getting much less clicks and interactions with that source than we were WWNY. So this year, we're not moving forward with WTI, we're moving forward with WWNY because we are getting more communication and interaction with those sources than we are with the other sources.
Thank you.
So we have narrowed it down, yes.
Is there any other questions or discussions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, nay?
Awarding bid and authorizing agreement between the County of Lewis and Brasco International for the purchase of bus stop shelters at a cost of $74,200.
Questions, discussion?
My understanding, these are gonna go through the village allowable for some parts thereof.
We proposed 2 bus stop shelters in the village of Belleville, but they have yet to be approved by the village of Belleville. But there are backup locations, there are other locations that do want them, if it doesn't work out.
Villages in my area, so I attended a couple of meetings. It seems there's a question about who's going to maintain these structures. That hasn't been totally worked out, I don't think.
No, those, actually, we've been in discussion with Matt, Buildings and Grounds, and with, Paul Denise, about the upkeep of some of the facilities. TLS has actually agreed to maintain the facility that we're looking to put there, so that one's all taken care of. It's just a matter of if we are able to put it between the Dollar General and the church here, who's gonna maintain that? That's the only question with the location.
Okay, but we'll solve that.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we would solve that before it's installed.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And these are grant funded, by the way.
Pardon?
These shelters are grant funded.
Okay, that's the other question I wanted. Yep.
Any questions or discussions? All in favor, aye? Opposed, nay?
Authorizing agreement between Department of Probation and Rubenzoll, Knudsen and Associates Psychological Services for the term of January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022.
Any questions or discussions?
The whole draft up here has money in it. That is okay.
That it?
Yep.
Any other questions? All in favor, aye? Opposed, nay?
Authorizing renewal agreements with United Radio, EF Johnson, and Aviat Networks for remote maintenance and support services of the E911 radio emergency communication system.
Any questions or discussions? All in favor, aye? Opposed, nay?
Authorizing contract between the County of Lewis and New York State Office of Indigent Legal Services to provide grant funds in the amount of $56,964 under distribution number 12 to assist the county in improving the quality of indigent legal services provided for the term of January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2024.
Any questions or discussion? This was a late They're on it, they're separate. All in favor, aye? Opposed, nay?
Providing supportive comment to the Department of Environmental Conservation on the Tug Hill East Draft Unit Management Plan. This was also a late one.
Question or discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, nay?
And then I have a motion to authorize Recreation, Forestry, and Parks Director Jackie Mahoney to refill one full-time crew leader position effective immediately due to resignation.
I'll make that motion.
Lisa and Dick, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Okay,
Chairman, given the meeting that we had before, to interview the potential construction managers for the facilities project, I would like to suggest that that the committee consider a motion to accept the bid of KT Construction for $511,320 and allow me to submit a resolution to the board meeting on Thursday for the entire board to consider.
okay, any questions or discussions? All in favor, aye?
We need a motion.
Motion, I'm sorry. Okay,
I'll move, Jay.
we have a second? Ron, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, nay?
That's enough.
Okay, I guess the only other thing, we don't need an executive session.
No, we don't.
Okay. Singing Waters, fee for structure information, we get that?
Jerry, it was on my to-do list and I didn't get it.
Okay.
I apologize. But we do need to have that conversation, so let's bring it to, the meeting on Thursday. We absolutely need to do it. I'm sorry. Yeah. So we need to get comparable prices from, other state parks in Martinsburg and private parks and see kind of what they charge per night. And-
Same facilities working.
Correct. Discuss if we're gonna set those up. That's
Good.
totally on me. We discussed doing it and I forgot to get it, so,
I think we're,
I think the use ought to be in there too, I think.
yes,
I
agree.
any other for committee? Do we have a motion to adjourn? We got an hour credit.
Wow. What will we do?
more left on it.
We'll call this committee to order, please. I need a motion to approve the October 19th, 2021 Health and Human Services Committee minutes, please.
I'll make that motion.
Second trouble.
Okay, we're gonna have a COVID update with Anna Platts because Ashley's not able to be here. Welcome, Anna.
Thank you.
You want to tell us it's gone?
I wish. I wish. Thank you for having me today. I do have a good share of updates for you, so please bear with me. But if at any point you'd like me to pause or stop, just let me know and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. To date, we have 140 active cases in Lewis County, 16 hospitalizations. Our 7-day average or positivity rate as of yesterday is 9.4%. Our 14-day average, also as of yesterday, is 9.3%.
What would a good number be for us?
The lower the better.
The one that was 9.5 or less would be in the range? Is that what the one?
5% or less would
Yeah.
get us out of that,
Okay,
that high transmission area.
thank you.
In the last couple of months, we've definitely plateaued with cases. We're kind of seeing it stay level. But as we started the week off this week could be up a little higher, but it's too soon to tell at this point, only being Tuesday.
Do you have the percentage of vaccinated versus unvaccinated?
I do. So for our cases in October, 79% of our cases were unvaccinated. 68% of hospitalizations in October were unvaccinated. To date in November, 73% of our cases are unvaccinated. And 82% of our hospitalizations are unvaccinated. Again, those last two percentages were for November.
Now, do you check at all if the person had COVID and recovered
And then,
and then
yes,
how's that looking?
I do not have the exact number. I would be happy to get that for you, but it is very low
It is.
for reinfections.
Yeah, okay, that, people ask you.
Sure, we could gladly get you that number.
Thank you.
So mainly our cases are unvaccinated, right?
Correct, overwhelmingly,
Yes.
cases and hospitalizations.
Oh, yeah.
I just wanted to say that the positivity rate, ours is 9%, New York City is 1%.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Mhm. I did see that on the news.
Yeah. And everybody walks around with masks in New York City.
And then probably most people are vaccinated.
Correct. Those are the next numbers I was planning to offer you. So as of October 31st, a little delay here, 13,088 residents have at least one dose, which is about 49% of our population. When we look at just those individuals 18 and over, 64% of our population has one dose. 46% of Lewis County residents are fully vaccinated. That's the whole age range.
Not quite enough.
At this point, all three vaccines, so Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson, have booster recommendations. We've had 8 booster clinics to date. They're being very, very well received. We have a lot of participation. I've spent all morning registering people for Friday's clinic at the Krogan Fire Hall. So that's our most upcoming clinic, 1 to 6 p.m. at the Krogan Fire Hall. We will be doing Moderna, third dose and boosters, as well as Johnson & Johnson. And there are still slots available. We will also be heading down to the Constableville Fire Hall on December 3rd.
Do you get information from Kenny's and Walmart as well or not?
For vaccination status, yes. Yep. We use the zip code of the individual.
Okay.
Also exciting, as you're probably well aware, children ages 5 to 11 are now eligible for the Pfizer vaccine.
And this afternoon, we're hosting our first school clinic. Our staff's headed to Copenhagen this afternoon. Very grateful to the schools for hosting those for us. We will be heading to Harrisville tomorrow, Beaver River on Thursday, South Louis on Monday, and Lowell on Tuesday.
You're doing that right in the schools?
Yes. Yep. So at the end of the day, parents are required to come and be there with the child while they're vaccinated. So the schools are all accommodating us and our staff, the students as well as their
Wow,
parents.
that's great.
Yeah, we're very excited.
Is that 17 and younger where the parents have to be there? Do the 18-year-olds still need parents too?
18 does not need a
Okay,
parent,
so 17 under, okay.
correct. Correct. That is the COVID update I have for you today. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
You said 140 some cases.
Active
Those are
cases.
active cases, okay.
Correct.
How many we had total, any idea?
Total,
20,000.
no, it's in the,
I thought it was.
it's about, I would have to,
It's all making noise.
yes.
3,548. Way down there.
How many?
3,548.
Thank you, I knew we were in the 3,500 range.
Anna, do you know what was our high back in the winter? Are we close to that
For
or
positivity,
no for number of active cases?
254.
my chart doesn't go back that far.
What about on Tuesday, December?
Any other
Any
questions?
questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Anna, for filling in.
No
It's nice to
problem.
see you.
You too.
Come anytime.
Thank you very much.
And good luck with your school clinics.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
And we'll be getting an update, I assume.
Yes, yes, we'll have plenty of updates come December.
Thanks.
No problem.
Thank you. Somewhere I heard Jerry Kier might be coming. What do you know, Ryan?
Well, I know that I told him that our first meeting was gonna run long, and then Jerry got us right through it, so,
Or do you have anything? You want me to go on and we'll
let's
pick him
do
up?
dockets, and I texted Jerry, I told him 2:30 if he could
Okay.
make it, but I had told him 3 earlier, so. We'll see if he makes it. If not, I know what he wants to talk about, and Bill and I and Larry can make it through.
Okay. Ready?
Authorizing Community Services Director to submit application funding proposal to New York State Office of Mental Health for Systems of Care grant in the amount of $25,000.
Any questions or discussion?
How did that 25,000 get arrived at?
What was that, sorry?
How did the 25,000, is that the most we could apply for at that time?
Yes.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays?
Appointing Howard Menny to the Lewis County General Hospital Board of Managers for a term of January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2026.
Any
Because
questions?
I can tell you, he filled out a position for his term, and that's why we're renewing now. He's been a very valued member, as you might expect, on the hospital board because of his prior knowledge, his prior career.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays?
Appointing Mary Ellen McManus, Jennifer Jones, and Linda P. Hershey to the Office for Aging Advisory Council for a term of January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2024.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Amending direct foster care parent contracts with OCFS, mandatory 1% rate increase retroactive to April 1st, 2021, and to authorize inclusion of provisions for any future payment increase or adjustments mandated by OCFS.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Authorizing renewal agreements between Lewis County Department of Social Services and various providers for program and operating services.
Any discussion or questions? All in favor? Opposed?
Appropriating funds for Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act in the amount of $100,879.46.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Appointing student representatives Gavin Tufo, Brett Vogt, Aaron Haro, and Haley Meager to the Lewis County Youth Advisory Board.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I have a motion to authorize Social Services Commissioner Jennifer Jones to refill one full-time program examiner position effective immediately due to resignation.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Are we ready for Jerry now?
I did have one other thing. So we approved to have more videos made a while ago,
Yeah, we did.
to highlight mental health awareness. And we are currently looking for people to be in those videos. If anybody has any interest in that, or if anybody knows of anyone who would want to be, who would want to help out with those videos.
Did you look at me when you said mental health?
That's what we're trying
She
to,
looked
that's
at me.
exactly the stigma we gotta get away from.
I'm not as subtle as I think I am, is what you're saying?
I think it would be nice to hear, but I know it's hard for people to talk about.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about it, I'm sure I was for it.
Yeah, so
It's a very difficult thing.
So the thought process is, we need to kind of destigmatize that, it's okay to talk about mental health with your family, with your friends, with people that are close to you, and it's okay to seek help. So we have a high suicide rate in Lewis County. And, we saw a pretty good impact and a great reaction from the community when we put together those videos for COVID-19 and the awareness of, taking steps to protect yourself and to get vaccinated. The community reacted very positively to those videos. So if we could make a similar investment and try to have a similar reaction and start a conversation about mental health, we figured that investment would be worth it to have.
Yeah, I spoke to the gentleman that did the last series, and essentially the concept that they came up with was 5 interviews. If 3 of them could be, like, say, for example, someone that is living with mental health issues, and maybe a family member to kind of discuss that, and then a provider of services to just kind of give an overarching view. But we were really hoping, obviously, the value having somebody from Lewis County, but you're absolutely right, Andrew, it's not an easy thing to do, especially in that kind of a venue. Before I started, Congress came in a little bit, I wanted to offer it up to the Board of Legislators to see if you had or knew someone. And if you did, if you could just have them call me, and we could just kind of talk about what it is that we're looking for, not that they're committing to anything. But maybe we can start there to see if we can engage somebody. My next step would be reaching out to TLS Bigger Wellness to see if they have some suggestions.
I think that's a great idea.
All right.
I always like to think that our workforce between the hospital and the county is a pretty good reflection of the county itself, the population of the county. And we get access to healthcare utilization reports every year. And it's always stunning to me, the percentage that self-report having anxiety, depression, some level of, mental health, and then the percentage that actually are on medication and seeking treatment. It's about 1/3 of total employees, which is always a staggering number to me. So certainly something that if 1 in 3 people in the county are dealing with, we need to find a way to talk about it in a more open way. So hopefully,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because there are some, obviously the protected, or privacy is protected, and there's ways that I have access to just like simple numbers. And I can tell you that, our adolescent population are struggling with suicide ideations and hospitalizations. So again, like, Ryan just said, wondering which the statistics are. But we've got a whole bunch of people coming up. And living with that.
It's not just an adult problem, it's a kid's problem as well.
Yeah, there's some real problems out there with some of our, I'll say, teenage group of people that affects them, their parents, their grandparents, the whole family gets affected by it. So it's a very important topic.
Andrea, along those same lines, at some point, could we get a little background to this report that?
Sure.
I don't know a lot of these acronyms, and
Okay.
you obviously have a lot of cases with a lot of different things. It'd kind of be nice to get a little update on that.
So aren't you proud of me? Just look at my spreadsheet. You want reports.
I know, and I love, and you know I love my numbers.
I know.
I gotta know what they mean.
Well, what makes me feel bad is there's so many young people who are depressed and are doing things to their body they hide. It's pretty sad. It's very sad.
So we can raise some awareness, through this video campaign. I think that will be a good step in the right direction. So the timeline, Pat, I think was December filming. Is that what you're looking for?
That's what we were really hoping to
Yeah.
achieve, and I know
Okay.
you definitely wanted to. I'm still waiting on I don't know if you've got the quote, that
I haven't
got it
yet.
yet, and I can track it down. I know that you wanted, we're not able to quite get it together, but make sure we encumber the funds.
Yeah, we put money in this year's budget, and obviously on the, January 1st that expires, so we're gonna encumber those to make sure we can fund it out of this year's budget.
Thank you. Thank you, Pam. And you, Lisa. Are we ready for Jerry now? Okay. Would you like to go a little talk? Give us an update.
Okay, come to the
Yes,
budget
please.
afterwards. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Sorry we rushed you.
That way, Ryan.
I would expect nothing less from Mr.
Wow.
Michelle, unless he's on the basketball court, of course. Not too speedy there. Well, thank you for your time, and so you are aware of the matter involving the Harrisville Health Center.
Yes.
And so you probably have had the opportunity to see this morning's article in the paper, which I thought was a nice summary of where things stand. So I thought I would tell you what our next steps are, and then open up to any questions that you may have. Does that sound reasonable?
Yes.
Okay. So I met with my management team this morning, and we are going to prepare to exit Harrisville Health Center. The notice gives us about 6 weeks to accomplish that. Still see patients, still communicate with patients, a game plan, and then decommission the health center. So there are a lot of steps. You just don't walk away from a health center. So as it relates to the patients, we will be communicating by way of letter to each of them and letting them know that Dr. Shambo and his team will still be available to see them. And we're finalizing a location closer to Lowville than Harrisville. So final clinic site is still to be finalized. We get some scheduling things to work through. So we will be doing that. We'll continue to see patients for the time being. There will be, Dr. Shambo will have a leave of absence for a period of time, which was planned. So we'll work through that. We'll have nurse coverage almost right up to the end. And over the last few days of the period we have the lease, we will, essentially take the equipment and furniture and supplies that we fitted the clinic with. There's also, we have to work through a process with the Department of Health. When you open up these clinics, you have to go through a certificate of need process. You might recall what we went through with Copenhagen. It's quite a process, and so instead of it being a certificate of need to open, you issue or go through what's called a closure plan. So we'll go through the closure plan. And essentially, the documents that will drive that will be the tenant's letter to us and the article. Now, the article really cemented for me what I think our next steps are. To read that in the spring of 2019, their plan was to eventually work us out. And in between that period of time and now, not dialoguing with us. So, at this point, I don't know how we go back, short of the town of Diana saying, oops, this was a mistake, we would like you to stay here. I don't know how we do that, because they've made it pretty clear by this letter and, their reflections in the news article this morning. So we will work hard to make it as convenient for patients we are seeing to transition to a different provider or to stay with us. And that's what we'll be doing. The executive committee of the Board of Managers had a pretty detailed and thoughtful conversation on this topic last evening. And, and I felt it was productive as we went through trying to understand the hows and the whys. And with you, I'm sharing, where we'll be landing. I must say I am profoundly disappointed. The Board of Managers went through a significant strategic planning process and a revision of our vision and mission. And our vision and mission clearly stated our commitment to working with the entire county. And that's how we've conducted ourselves. But, personalities sometimes get in the way, and I suspect that's the situation here. So that's my report on Harrisville Health Center, unless you have some questions for me. Yes, Phil.
I want to make sure I understood what you said. Do you intend to be in a standalone clinic with the current staff that's at Harrisville?
No, we will set up in one of our current clinics. So we will not be in a standalone. The population in Harrisville just does not warrant two providers, so we're going to set up shop elsewhere.
Will it be in the hospital, or will it be at a?
Yeah, it'll be in one of our existing properties, and we have other people we have to communicate to, so I'd rather not answer that.
I can see that.
Covered yet. But I'm more than happy to share with you, privately exactly what we're thinking. But I'm not ready to go public yet on that.
You obviously have an excellent current staff there.
Yeah, they are outstanding.
And I was kind of driving it, hoping that they would be able to stay together because they work together so well.
That is our plan for them to stay together. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to say that, with hospitals and emergency departments just being absolutely overwhelmed with patients, that primary care providers are so important right now. And I know that Dr. Shambo is one of the best that we have in the county. So, we hope that, the people of Harrisville and can continue to have relationships. So.
Yeah, I hope they do too. Unfortunately, it'll require a commute at this point.
I'm sorry that had to happen for the people of Harrisville.
And as I shared with the board last night, the Board of Managers, if the people of Harrisville feel as strongly as I do about Dr. Shambo and his team and what I hear you saying, Ms. Workler, then, let their voices be heard. And, we have until the 31st to backtrack on this. But once the 31st comes, we're off.
Phil, are you free to comment? Have you heard anything in the community at all? I mean,
I'm not free to comment.
Okay. That's fine.
I would prefer not to. There's a lot of disappointment, I would say that.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. For some of the people I had talked to. Yeah. But that's quite.
And there's probably on the other side.
Oh, yeah.
That, I have nothing more on Harrisville. I do have an update on religious exemptions, which has been a big part of my world for the better part of maybe a year now, but would you like me to move on to that?
Yes.
So I've put together a packet for each of you. Consider this as informational.
So, it's on here.
It will.
I do not need
You need time to discuss.
No, 3, yeah, there's a single page.
That's all you need.
All right, there are 3 specific documents. The first is a single sheet. So if you'll bear with me, so this was the letter received yesterday, late morning, early afternoon. And I know you all can read, I won't read the whole thing, but let me get right to what the important part is. The purpose of this letter is to inform covered entities that beginning November 26, 2021, all covered entities must ensure that covered personnel under the department's August 26 COVID transmission by covered entities emergency regulation, who were previously granted religious exemptions, have documentation of either a first dose or a valid medical exemption. Facilities should have a process in place to consider reasonable accommodation requests from covered personnel based on sincerely held religious beliefs consistent with applicable federal and state laws. So that's the important piece in this letter. The second document is the August 26 order. This is the document that went through the various court proceedings. It's 25 pages. This will really help you with the sleep. Okay, and then the next document is a traditional format to help understand the order is frequently asked questions. So it allows you to put it all together. So what the letter has done is really put a line in the sand as to what comes next for those religious exemptions that we approved. It was incredibly unfair by the Department of Health to put healthcare organizations in the position of trying to judge what's in a person's heart when it comes to the religious exemption. So the health system's approach was anyone who brought forward a reasonable request and brought forward their feelings, we accepted. And as I said with you today, we have 20 individuals who have religious exemptions. Now, reading this letter on its face, what it's telling us is on Monday, the 22nd, they must receive their first shot to continue working. Unless they have a valid medical exemption. And the criteria for a valid medical exemption is very narrow. And right now we have 5, okay, a total of 5. And usually there's an endpoint so that the medical issue is addressed. Medical exemptions are pretty straightforward, and there are contraindications to the vaccine or reasons why you wouldn't be given the vaccine, and that really drives if the medical exemption was issued. So very small, very narrow scope. I think it's worked well, and we've been able to work with the employees. So as is the case often these days, this letter does have some interpretation. So we have, since yesterday, met with our corporate compliance officer, is an attorney by training, David Hoffman, and he provides annual or biannual education to the Board of Managers. And in fact, we had an education session with him last evening. And our human resources attorney, Ms. Katie Schaefer, who works with Vaughn, Schoeneck and King, and her expertise is in human resources. And as you would imagine, compliance and human resources brings a different perspective to these sorts of things. From a compliance point of view, it's very clear. In order for these individuals with religious exemptions to continue working, they need to be vaccinated unless we can provide reasonable accommodation. Human resources, it gets a little more layered, but we're part of a bargaining unit, there's fairness, there's equity, there's consistency, all those sorts of things that you have to work through. So at this point, the majority of our religious exemptions are clinical, which is problematic for us. And they're disproportionately RNs who work on the acute side. So the emergency department has been on diversion since Sunday late afternoon and continues, as I said with you this afternoon. Why is that? The beds upstairs are full, and over 50% of the census is COVID positive. Our COVID transmission in Lewis County is comparable to what it was earlier in the year when we were living through this. And we are struggling to staff adequately. We are staffing adequately, but we have lots of people working, lots of extra hours, and coming from different departments, and truly the teamwork among the nursing service is second to none. So out of those 20 individuals, 7 of them are in the nursing service. So just think about that for a minute. A third of the individuals are there. We have some CNAs and some other ancillary departments. And then we have less than a handful, I think 3 in kind of traditional business administration matters. So what are we going to do, right? So we're not there yet. We spoke briefly, well, I would say more than briefly last evening when both Attorney Schaefer and Attorney Hoffman provided education to the board. We're working through it. Our goal right now is to make sure that we don't have to pause any other services. We're still in pause with maternity. So that's where we stand. And I think you're going to see much more attention on this topic, not only locally, but statewide and nationally. Lawsuits being filed all over the place, nationally, as well as within the state. And we're not unique. Hospitals throughout New York State are dealing with this issue. And so that's the backup. That's the letter. Kind of D-Day is November 22nd, and we're going to continue to work through the process. Begin communicating with the individuals, at this point, and review what their options are. And, should have a better handle on it by week's end.
there's no room for the reasonable accommodation requests in there. That seems vague.
Yeah, see, that's the challenge right now. So the way to think of it is, and you would know this, Lisa, this notion of front-facing. So clinical people are front-facing to patients, whereas someone like me would not be. And so right now, 17 out of the 20 individuals are front-facing. So from a clinical perspective, there's virtually no accommodation that we can make that would allow them to be front-facing. And covered individuals is not only about patients, it's about the employees who work in the health system. So I am a covered individual, which means if I was not vaccinated, I could not work on our campus. And I couldn't be sent to another building with another non-vaccinated person because we could contaminate each other. So anyone within the system is viewed as a covered individual, and the entity is considered a covered entity. Now, what's unfortunate in that, only Article 28 organizations, so that's how you're licensed, are covered entities. Private clinics, private practices do not have to live by this same rule. And it gets into that in the frequently asked questions. So a non-county health organization that is just private, not Article 28, does not have the requirement we have to be vaccinated. So we have to work our way through that. So the exemption has to be, or the accommodation has to be what is considered a reasonable accommodation. In a hospital system our size, there's very little that is truly done that you could do completely elsewhere, or you just do by yourself all day. Many of the people who work in the health system do multiple things, which is the nature of rural health. You have to bring multiple skill sets to the table. For the last 2 hours, we were working on that, going person by person, working through, is there a reasonable accommodation? And then, let's just say there is, you then have to continue it forward for the next person. And we just don't have that kind of bandwidth to be able to do that. So it's kind of a long answer to your question, but as you know, it's a pretty complicated question. So that's kind of where we stand. Of course, if you have questions, please let Ryan know. I'll be happy to come down and sit with you. The Board of Managers is meeting on Monday, the 22nd, so I'll have an update for the board as to where we landed at this point. Okay.
Thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions? Thank you for coming in.
Well,
I know you're very busy, but we do appreciate you
Yeah.
taking the time to explain all this.
Thank you. Yep, thank you.
Okay, it's quite a lot to take in. Does anybody else have anything else to say or any comments?
I have one update, Andrea.
Okay, go ahead.
Is it cheery? Cheery.
Okay, I have 2 updates.
Sure.
I've been talking to other counties throughout the state. Obviously, last week, the federal government's OSHA requirement for employers over 100 went into place regarding mandatory vaccine and/or testing for those employers. It has not been officially mandated to county governments yet. We actually do not report to OSHA. We report to the Public Employee Safety, something, it's called PESH, Public Employee Safety. PESH has not officially adopted OSHA standards. They almost always do. So several counties have taken it upon themselves to start basically treating themselves as an employer over 100 and start putting into place the vaccination or test policy. My assumption with this group is that we will not necessarily be the first county out of the gate, but wait for the situation to develop and respond, once we kind of have more formal indication what the state wants to do. But that's just a heads up that a lot of the conversation that we just kind of had with Jerry might be headed even a little bit closer to home with our county employees on this side of the street within the next couple of weeks. So just a warning. At this time, we're not going to begin, my pitch is that we do not yet begin collecting vaccination status from employees or, really start preparing anything. I think that it's reasonable for the state to send very specific guidelines once they're prepared to adopt that. So why don't we wait it out a little bit, not get too far ahead of the game. But my assumption is we will be dealing with that in the not too distant future. That's it.
There was two.
Well, she wanted something cheery, so.
We can't think of anything. It's nothing.
The Yankees might sign a good shortstop. So
You need one. Anything else? You good?
Just, I don't share Ryan's concern that the state's gonna come down with some really clear guidance.
No, wait.
Yeah, if you read the letter,
That's a good
if you read the letter we
Yeah,
got,
yeah,
they think, they can't read minds, but you can. So
Yeah.
only read minds. I never read anything so stupid in my life. I don't know how to read minds, but you got it. So if you get that clarity, it ain't gonna be a lot.
sure, yeah.
Sorry.
Clear as mud, right?
so I'll ask for an adjournment.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Thank you.
Either way,
The call of Finance and Rules Committee to order. The first thing I'd like is a motion to approve the minutes. Everybody got a copy of them? If there's any changes or not. Ron made the motion, second by Phil. All in favor, aye. And the minutes are approved as written. The first thing on the agenda, we've got a annual investment report from Eric Berkler, our county treasurer.
I'm having those printed as we speak.
It's hot off the press.
It will be. Can you
Is
give me-
that good news or bad
Can you
news?
give me 1 minute?
Yep, no problem.
Oh, dear. We could do the logo if you want, Tom. No, so Rachel unfortunately couldn't make it.
Okay,
She told us last minute, but she recorded a video for us
Okay.
for her presentation.
whoever's in charge of that part.
Pretty nice.
I know.
Jump on our county road.
Can you hit the lights, Joe? So maybe, hold on 1 second before you hit play, Connor. So let's just reset for a second. We had Rachel come in earlier in the year, actually, maybe January or February, to talk about branding opportunities for the county. We don't really have a unified image for the county government. We have the seal, but that's black and white, and we don't really have anything that jives with the Naturally Lewis image. The Chamber of Commerce has really done a great job branding. The IDA's done a great job branding, and we kind of have not kept up, in my opinion. We're on the verge of doing a website refresh. Connor's gonna have an RFP going out by the end of the year to kind of re-update our website again. And when we do that, we wanna build that website with some type of theme, okay? A theme that represents Lewis County. And so the thought process was, let's try to recreate kind of our brand in terms of the logo. And we had some discussions at the beginning of the year. And then we got busy with other things and kind of didn't finish it. So that's why we are having this discussion. And then Rachel can kind of pitch why, kind of what the next steps are. So we'll leave it up to you. Eric, you wanna go first and then we can come back to this? Sorry.
No problem, if you don't mind, jump around a little bit. Right here then? I apologize, I thought this got out to you earlier, so I might have missed sending it out. So what you have is an annual investment report, and that's a copy for Ron. Oh, I missed it. This is a document that's required per our investment policy, and you have the document, or you have a docket item to update our investment policy, which we did about a year ago. So one note in the investment policy is that the treasurer will provide you an annual investment report. I think it says by the end of September, so I'm a little late this year, but we'll get that on track next year. You haven't had much time to look at this, but I will hit a few highlights. What I wanted to do in this first attempt at an annual investment report was give you kind of a little bit of a summary of what's happened in the last year. It was just about a year ago, we transitioned or started our process for 3+1, and you're all familiar with that. We heard from them a couple months ago. So I wanted to kind of give you a little bit of the history of what's happened, very summarized history since we started that program with 3+1. So you can see in there some of the dollars and investments that we've made over the last year and since we started with 3+1 last October. Really, the work and the investment changes started in December. What we did at that point was we closed out, we basically had one CD invested prior to our work with 3+1. We closed that out. We transferred all of our invested funds to a new financial institution. Based on 3+1's recommendation, they found that financial institution for us that had the best rates at the time. So we initiated a new account at that financial institution with all of our investable funds going there at that point. We started to invest in what are called CDARs, and I'm not even sure if I have the definition of a CDAR on there, but it's a certificate of deposit, et cetera, et cetera. It's a variation of a CD. And it's an allowable investment under New York State regulations. So we started investing with CDARs through Chemung Canal Trust Company. Over the course of a month, the term used is laddered our investments. So we purchased investments with different periods, lengths of time, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years. So a little bit of a different strategy and thought on how we invested those funds. And the interest rates a year ago were very low in comparison to where they were 2 or 3 years ago, but at the 0.45 that you see on the 2-year CDAR is as good as you could get a year ago. That's really a pretty good rate, sorry to say. So just, again, I'm not going to walk you through every line on here. One other change I think that happened over the year, we had one of those CDARs expire. It was a 6-month term, so we had to reinvest that at that point. Rates had changed within 6 months, so we didn't just keep the money with Chemung Canal Trust. We, at that point, moved it to a CD at Community Bank, because at that point, Community Bank offered us a very good rate. So just to show you that we're trying to be a little bit more flexible, looking at different opportunities and different possibilities on how we invest the funds. And I think a couple things I wanted to really touch on was, again, kind of that new strategy to ladder the investments, not just to have one CD with a 3-month term that we would renew every 3 months. We've taken a little bit more sophisticated approach, if that's what you might want to call it. Again, I'd say with 3+1's guidance in that regard. The other thing that was, I think, a really good note is that our operating funds, our checking account at Community Bank, we were able to renegotiate the interest rate we earned with them. And you can see that it's towards the bottom of the first page. It was at 0.01% a year ago. We got that increase to 0.2%. Again, pretty low, but that's significant, that increase. So all of our funds that are sitting in our checking account, which is, on any given day, it might be $10 to $15 million. That increase affects that $10 to $15 million. On the second page, just a kind of a current summary as of November 1st, what we have invested at Chemung Canal Trust was $18 million, and at Community Bank was $12 million, and that's just in invested funds, not the checking account. And then you can see the interest earned in 2021 through the end of October was almost $90,000. Again, not a big dollar amount. You can see down a little bit farther if you put that in context of past years. But given the interest rate environment, I think we have done quite well to even earn that amount with those CDARs at 0.4 and 0.45%. Those were good rates. So it's not big money, but it's better than where we could have been. And again, just a comparison on the interest rates, if you look back to 2019, which I didn't look at how much we had invested, but I think we had a significant amount, lower amount invested, but we had interest of $197,000 then. The other number I just calculated when I was doing this, if you take that $30 million that we have invested in November 1st and use 2.25%, what the rate was about a year and a half ago, you don't really want to see that number because it just, it's unfortunate the amount of money that we're not getting in interest just because of the decrease in rates in the last 2 years. Any questions on that?
On the score, on the bottom here, is that 3+1 scoring themselves?
No, they're scoring us. And I'm glad you asked, Bill, because I think you've seen that when they, when Tyler was here a couple months ago, he probably mentioned that cash best score. That's their, internal mechanism. That's their internal scoring. They've got a framework on how they calculate that. I couldn't quote it for you, but it's this scoring mechanism that they use for their clients. And it's the same across the board from one client to the next. So it's them scoring us, and they can compare that to other counties, towns, school districts. I think I guess two notes I would have on it. One is the improvement. Obviously, it's pretty great. And then the other comment is they look at anyone over 90 as really doing a very good job. So we made great improvement, and then our challenge is to keep it at that level.
Thanks.
Anytime you have any questions on any of this, I'll do more than my best to answer them if I can, and we'll continue to follow that process and bring you an annual report for next September.
Anything else for Eric? If not, thank you very much, Eric.
Thank you.
Now we'll move back to where we
I think I got it.
Did you call someone from IT?
Going through all the zoning rules and thought process will help clarify the standards that we have about why we came up with the logo that we did. So first of all, this afternoon, I want to talk to you a little bit about what makes a successful logo. So a good logo is simple, relevant, and versatile. Good afternoon, everybody. I apologize I can't be there in person today to go over this presentation, but I'm hoping that going through all this and showing you a little bit of our thought process will help clear up any questions that you may have about the logo that we did. So first of all, this afternoon, I want to talk to you a little bit about what makes a successful logo. So a good logo is simple, relevant, and versatile. Those are the three most important things when it comes to considering the logo design. This logo portion of this design speaks to the simplicity with clean lines, simple shapes. It is a little bit abstract, but once you take a little bit deeper look, there are some recognizable landmarks. And these landmarks are pride points in our community, like the Telkill Plateau, the Black River, the Black River Valley, and the foothills of the Adirondacks. And speaking to the versatility of this logo, we wanted it to be able to be used in any kind of format. So we have a full color version, we have a grayscale version, and we did a one color monoline version just for the places where you would need a one color logo. Now you might be thinking this logo is very simple and clean, but it doesn't represent what Lewis County needs to mean. So these are things that we took into consideration when we initially started talking about a logo design for the county. And a lot of times what comes up when people think Lewis County are, agriculture, dairy, snowmobiling on Tug Hill, and possibly, maple syrup production. And then the more we talked about it, the more we discovered that these things don't mean Lewis County to everybody. You might lean more toward ATV, recreation,
downhill skiing, snowboarding, tubing. Of course, there's cross-country skiing, snowshoeing, hiking with your family, lots of opportunities for outdoor recreation where we live, fishing, hunting. And we came to the conclusion that we cannot take all of these things, represent them in a logo, and still have a successful logo. And the reason we can't do that is because Lewis County means something different to everyone. What Lewis County means to me is not the same thing that it means to you, or the person next to you, or other people in your family. But taking that into consideration, we can condense all of that into a simple, relevant, versatile logo. Take, for instance, the Tall Hill Plateau. We have opportunities for snowmobiling, ATV riding, lots of hiking, skiing, snowboarding, tubing, possibly maple syrup production and hunting. When you move into the Black River and the Black River Valley, that's where we get into more agriculture, small businesses. Again, the opportunity for hiking, ATV, outdoor recreation. But then you have, fishing, kayaking, canoeing, boating. And then when we talk about the foothills of the Adirondacks, and knowing that the Adirondack Park does extend into Lewis County, that is a point of pride for a lot of people here. Of course, you have the opportunity for outdoor recreation, but we can also start to think about tourism and promoting our small businesses, because some people that do visit the Adirondacks kind of just pass through Lewis County. We want to make it memorable for them, and we want them to stay a little bit longer the next time they drive through. Another thing we took into consideration when we were designing this logo is we wanted to take a look at these businesses and entities that already exist within the county. And we wanted to create a cohesive brand with the information that's already out there. So when you look at, logos here on your screen, you'll see a lot of blues, a lot of range of greens, different typography. So we wanted to take that and kind of take bits and pieces, make it our own, so we can look cohesive with existing brands within the community. When you think about the Chamber of Commerce, they focus on tourism. Naturally, Lewis focuses on business development. Of course, we have public transportation, Lewis County Health System, public health, all of those entities that already exist. But we want to make sure that we are representative of that in this new logo. Another thing we took into consideration was the possibility of developing icons for future website design. If we could establish a strong brand identity, a strong identity guide with colors, typography, and we use that on future projects, that will help strengthen the brand. And in closing, I just want to speak quickly about the versatility of the logo, show you examples of how this could be used in different formats. So our first logo that we did was the full color logo. That translates well to any kind of stationery print material, letterhead, folders, business cards, envelopes, other kind of stationery. This could also be used digitally on social media, commercials, video, anything in that vein. But we also needed to have a strong one color logo in cases where we would need to use them in a way that the full color logo wasn't a good fit, which is why we developed this monoline logo, which could be used in one color decal, one color imprint or embroidery on apparel or other promotional materials. So I hope that clears up any questions you may have had about our thought process behind the logo, why we did what we did, and how we came up with this final design in trying to encompass all of what Lewis County is. I thank you very much for your time.
So the feedback from the last session was that we like it, but where's the tractor? Where's the snowmobile? Where's the things that we identify with Lewis County? So we asked Rachel to try to explain why a logo that features all those things can get a little busy, and since the press has left, will you pull up Oswego County's logo, please? This is what happens when you try to put everything together under a logo. And my opinion is that it doesn't look so great.
What we really want everyone to think of is this logo is gonna be used for all the departments across the board. So, you know, do we want, yeah, all the colors are a little busy, all the images and.
So you start throwing in a barn and a snowmobile and, you know, where's, you know, the part of the county that means something to me. The nuclear power plant's important to us. Why isn't that in our logo? You know, you start putting things in the logo and this is what happens. So we're trying to explain why we wanted to keep it a little simpler. So that said, I'm not saying the logo that you know, that they came up with is necessarily the be all end all. I really do want, you know, we're really hoping for board buy-in. If you don't like it, then we can go back to the drawing board and pick something else. But this is what we're, you know, this is kind of the end result of our search. And we're hoping to get a green light to kind of move along. Or we need to, you know, do something that maybe is more inspiring. But this is kind of where we're at.
So after the explanation, I really liked it, but I sometimes think that a logo shouldn't need explanation.
A logo shouldn't mean what?
Shouldn't need explanation.
But I do like it, I mean, that's nice.
I guess the question I had is, they were going through the presentation, you're gonna be able to go on icons that are color coded with those colors, am I wrong in that?
Correct.
Well, it's gonna take you to your tractor or wherever you want to go, depending on which icon you push on. They can be listed under the thing, like the valley, kayaking, this, that, you're gonna see your boats, snowmobiles, whatever, wherever you travel.
Right.
So I think everything's gonna show up eventually, you just gotta dig a little bit deeper to see it. I mean, could that be included? I mean, I know they put the icons, they had, you know, kayaking, this, that, and everything else, but I assume there'd be some pictures in there.
So what we wanted was a logo that we could use this image with anything. And then, like Jerry said, if we're doing marketing specifically or issuing, you know, or reports specifically on snowmobiles, then you can use this color scheme to kind of build in, you know, those icons of you know what I mean? So we'd have to ask Rachel to give us a broader package with some iconography that kind of fits in with these color schemes, yeah.
Well, if you're, like you're going to Tug Hill Plateau, if you're gonna be up there, aren't you gonna want to see what it offers? And see the amenities you can go to while you're out there if you're spending any time? So, I mean, people are just gonna, wherever they're gonna end up, they're just gonna have to walk under that, where they're gonna be of what's offered in that area.
Mhm.
Pretty neat.
I am with Lisa. I like this. I haven't, you know, I don't think it's a grand slam ball out of the park, but it is kind of, we did a pretty wide net of possibilities and kind of narrowed it down to this. If we want to go back, we need to hire, you know, Rachel's a great local person, but if you want something more in depth, then we probably need to hire like the page group or something and you know, put a whole marketing firm behind us. But is this inspiring enough to move forward, or where are we at?
I like this. My only hesitancy was it really doesn't do much in the grayscale. But other than that, I like it.
Oh, yeah, show that. Yeah, I don't like grayscale either. I like either 1 or 3.
Yeah, the grayscale doesn't get it at all. I like the colored one, and I can see just the outline, like they showed it on the shirt, and embroidery type thing, but,
So if we went with this, we just have to buy Cassandra more.
Yep.
Now that Ryan used it all.
I think it's pretty obvious what it's getting at, right? Like, that would be my, I don't know, like Lisa, did you, looking at that, like I can see at least, okay, I got a river and a couple of hills.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think her explanation was more meant for simple is better,
Right.
like the simple image of the plateau and the river and mountains stands for the snowmobiling, the outside rack, the logo. Instead of incorporating that all into our logo, I mean, that's what the Chamber of Commerce is doing, is the tourism aspect, and the Natural Lewis is doing the business aspect. And our goal is to make something that's versatile for DA to use on their letterhead and real property to use on their letterhead and those justifications. So I guess that was our thought, and we did, I almost brought some of the preliminary designs that we worked with Rachel. We put the windmills, we put the farm fields in there, and it was just a lot, like it was a lot.
That's like the idea of going with the.
I would add to,
Right.
the grayscale is not necessarily a consideration for being a primary, but when you're printing in black and white, how is your logo gonna look? So at least knowing what it's going to look like when it's black and white. If it looks terrible, then maybe you have to go back to the drawing board and some of your tones and make sure it still looks right if you printed it in black and white or something.
You know, the color kind of leaps out at you,
Okay.
but the grayscale is just kind of flat and there. I don't want to say boring, but it
I
does
would like
good.
the black and white one more than I like the vinyl line, yeah, more than the grayscale.
And the next step would be that Rachel would create all those templates for everybody, with a colored template or the black and white template with a monoline. for-
She'd do new letterheads for all of our departments
Right.
and stuff like that. Move forward or try to hire somebody else? What do we think?
Yeah, what's the general consensus?
I like it. I think that's workable. Or I mean, like, I think it's good the way it is.
Anybody else have any thoughts, comments, or?
What do you think, Tom?
I can't even draw a stick man, so I'm not a good one to ask.
It's such a thing as medium choice, so the more we see, the less we're going to be satisfied with any of it, so I say go to this one.
Yeah, but if you have all those icons, you can get to wherever you wanna go.
Right, right.
I mean, if they wanna sit there and read it, you can put pages of stuff, what you click on that icon.
Do we want to pursue this logo or?
Well, the Naturally Lewis one was done by
Page.
Page. I couldn't remember if it's Page or Moyne, so, that's very similar to this here, so I'm not sure how much we would gain if we spent another $50,000.
Well, we've only spent like 10,000 so far, so,
Not even
yeah.
1,500 on this, Page was 17,000.
Yeah, so there you go.
That makes a difference. Of course.
Do we want to make a motion that we go ahead and accept this or present to the full board, or?
This last meeting.
Is the purpose of the logo to make sense to those of us that live in Lewis County? It's supposed to be recognized by those that don't live in Lewis County.
It's an initiative because there's value in creating a brand. So essentially, we want to use this to attract new residents, attract new businesses, attract tourists. I'm sure that it'll be just my generation. If I have 2 letters of an offer letter from one job to the next, and I see our logo on letterhead, and then I compare it to Chenango County, it looks like it was, drawn up in the early 1900s. I'm probably going to pick the one that looks fresh and up to date and clean and modern. So it's just coming from that, there's a lot of benefits to rebranding Lewis County to freshen up our image.
That's why I asked the question.
And Dick, though, along that though, I see the advertising potential is really big because, I think especially people who come here, either to go hiking or ATV riding, they're gonna get a bumper sticker, for their car. And if it's got that on it, that's pretty nice. Or if they wear a patch on their backpack because they went hiking up on Tug Hill. And suddenly we've got free advertising through merchandising. And people are starting to recognize that it's part of our brand a little bit. So I think that the second aspect, it's both, but I like the idea of actually doing something that's going to create kind of a cascade of advertising in the community, just from people are wearing. I think there's potential there. But nobody's going to wear that. The flying scales of justice, nobody's going to put
Yeah,
that
it's a
on.
long ways from that.
Yeah, I can picture the colors on, like Ian just said, a bumper sticker,
Those
a
little
patch,
bumper
a coffee mug, whatever,
Yep.
a hat, yep.
And actually, on the CNS rendering of the DSS building in the lobby, did you notice how they had the seal? How cool would this look? And I'm sure that they can find a really great design of colors around something like this.
Yeah.
So, just another benefit. And Connor's website.
Yeah, I would work with Rachel extensively on the iconography for the website aspect. So then we would create a really cohesive picture from just the overarching logo of this, but then going down into the different departments and different groups, using some of the colors from that same palette and some of the same fonts, and creating a consistent look across our departments that's appealing and it's going to stick out for the different interest groups.
Okay, so I gather the general consensus is that we go ahead and pass this on to the full board for approval or disapproval?
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion on that at this time? Okay, then we'll move along. Guess we're ready for docket.
Introductory local law number 6-2021, a local law providing for increases to salaries for certain local officials and setting the public hearing for December 23rd, 2021 at 10 o'clock a.m.
Any questions or comments from the committee or anybody else? All in favor, aye? Opposed? Carried.
Amending the 2022 tentative county budget regarding the safe harbor program. And those of you that have received your packets for Thursday, this will be going forward at that meeting.
Any questions or comments on that one? All in favor, aye? Opposed? Carried.
Amending the investment policy and guidelines for the county of Lewis.
Questions or comments?
You know, Eric, when I read that thing, it looked to me like the state was loosening the restrictions.
Provided more opportunities,
You
yes.
could actually buy a corporate bond.
Correct.
I was shocked.
That's it. Yep, that is unusual.
Anything else? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing one-year renewal agreement between the County of Lewis and ICU Security and Private Investigations for unarmed security guard services at the Department of Motor Vehicles building at a rate of $32.50 per hour for 37.5 hours per week from January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Reappointing Charles Truax Jr. to the Lewis County Ethics Board for a term of January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2024.
Any questions or comments?
I talked to Charlie, and he's real happy that he was appointed to that, because when he retired, he wasn't sure what he was going to do. I don't think there's a lot of involvement in that, but he did really appreciate it.
Right.
Well, you just had to do something this week.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Let's hope so.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing county treasurer to make necessary budget transfers to close the books for the 2021 fiscal year.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
Yeah, just kidding.
Carried.
transferring and appropriating funds to the capital reserve account.
Questions or comments? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Updating designated depositories.
Questions or comments?
Tom,
All in favor?
I would just note the big change there is community bank, just to ensure we've got a high enough limit, given increased funds we have on hand.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, the first motion that I have is a motion to authorize County Attorney Joan McNichol to refill one full-time secretary to the Assistant County Attorney position, effective immediately due to resignation.
I'll make that a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
The next motion came forward from General Services Committee. This is a motion to authorize Recreation, Forestry, and Parks Director Jackie Mahoney to refill one full-time crew leader position effective immediately due to resignation.
Make that a motion. Second. Ron? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
And the third one is a motion that came forward from Health and Human Services, and it's a motion to authorize Social Services Commissioner Jennifer Jones to refill one full-time program examiner position effective immediately due to resignation.
I'll make that a motion. Second.
I will.
Phil? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Is there anything else? No executive session? Okay. We need a motion to adjourn. Ron? Second?
I'll second.
Steve? All in favor of adjournment? Aye. Carried. We're done.
Record time, I get the time.